The Nanny, 1993 to 1999, was a wildly popular sitcom that blended sharp humor, heartwarming moments, and unforgettable characters, making it a timeless favorite among fans. With Fran Drescher's iconic portrayal of the stylish and witty Fran Fine, the show became a cultural phenomenon that continues to be cherished today. However, as the years have passed, some of the talented actors who brought these beloved characters to life are no longer with us. In this video, we honor 35 actors from The Nanny who have sadly passed away, reflecting on their memorable roles, remarkable careers, and the legacy they left behind. And Morgan Guilbert portrayed Yetta Rosenberg in The Nanny, 1993, at 65, delivering an unforgettable performance as Fran Fine's hilariously absent-minded grandmother. Yetta's eccentricity and offbeat remarks made her a fan favorite, but behind the laughter, and endured a career plagued by typecasting. Best known for The Dick Van Dyke Show, she struggled to find substantial roles afterward, often reduced to playing quirky side characters. Her personal life was equally turbulent. Her first marriage to writer-producer George Eckstein ended in a bitter divorce, leaving her to raise their 2 daughters alone. The financial strain forced her to take on unfulfilling roles, and despite her outwardly warm demeanor, she suffered from deep loneliness in her later years. As her health declined due to cancer, she fought to keep working, even as the pain became unbearable. On June 14, 2016, at 87, she passed away, her final years marked by suffering and a desperate longing for the recognition she never fully received. Mort Drescher played Uncle Stanley at 64, delivering warmth and humor as Fran's clumsy but lovable uncle. Off-screen, his life was filled with deep personal struggles. The father of The Nanny's creator, Fran Drescher, Mort was a steadfast supporter of his daughter's career, yet he never achieved his own recognition. His long marriage to Sylvia Drescher was marred by the unimaginable trauma of their daughter's brutal home invasion in 1985. An event that haunted the entire family. Though he maintained an outwardly cheerful demeanor, he privately battled health issues, including heart disease, and the emotional burden of outliving many of his closest friends. As he aged, he withdrew from public life, his once vibrant presence fading into quiet solitude. On March 20, 2024, at 94, he passed away, his final years spent in isolation, his legacy overshadowed by the more famous figures in his life. Spalding Gray played Dr. Jack Miller at 56, portraying the calm and analytical psychiatrist who provided balance to the show's chaotic characters. But in reality, his own mind was anything but stable. A gifted monologist, Gray captivated audiences with his deeply personal, often painful storytelling, but his introspective nature led him down a path of endless self-examination and despair. His marriage to Kathleen Russo produced 2 children, yet his emotional detachment and lifelong battle with depression strained his relationships. The breaking point came in 2001, when a devastating car accident left him with a severe skull fracture, triggering unbearable chronic pain and worsening his mental state. As the darkness consumed him, he attempted suicide multiple times before disappearing on January 11, 2004. His body was found 2 months later in the East River, his tragic end at 62 the culmination of a lifetime spent teetering between brilliance and unbearable suffering. Ray Charles played Sammy at 67, his legendary voice adding soul to The Nanny. A towering figure in music, he revolutionized the industry but paid a steep personal price. Blind from childhood, he overcame incredible odds, yet his success was tainted by addiction and a string of broken relationships. He fathered 12 children with multiple women but struggled to provide the emotional presence they needed, leaving many estranged. His heroin addiction led to legal trouble, and though he eventually quit, alcohol remained a crutch. Despite his fame, his later years were marked by health battles, his body weakened by years of substance abuse. In his final months, he was frail and in constant pain, unable to perform the music that had once been his salvation. On June 10, 2004, at 73, he succumbed to acute liver disease, a man whose voice moved millions, yet whose own life was filled with loss and regret. Allan Rich played Polly the pawnbroker in The Nanny in 1996 at the age of 70, bringing to life a shrewd, street-smart businessman who thrived on sharp deals. His real-life story was far more tragic. Once a promising actor, he was blacklisted in the 1950s due to unfounded accusations of communist ties, destroying his early career and forcing him into years of financial hardship. Though he eventually rebuilt his reputation, the pain of lost years haunted him. He married Allan Rich, with whom he had 2 children, but their marriage was marked by tension, largely due to his unstable career and long periods of struggle. In his final years, he suffered from progressive dementia, which slowly stripped away his memories, leaving him a shell of the man he once was. By the time he passed away on August 22, 2020, at 94, he no longer recognized his family, spending his last days in isolation and confusion, a once brilliant mind trapped in an unrelenting fog. Daryl Hickman played the doctor at 66, embodying a compassionate medical professional, but his personal journey was fraught with hardship. A child star turned screenwriter, he struggled with the pressures of early fame, his career never quite reaching the heights he had hoped for. His marriage to actress Pamela Lincoln lasted, but tragedy struck when his younger brother, Dwayne Hickman, took his own life, an event that shattered him emotionally. Though deeply religious, his faith could not protect him from the ghosts of his past, and he spent much of his later years reflecting on the what-ifs of his life. Hollywood slowly forgot him, and he lived out his last years in near obscurity, overshadowed by the careers of those he had once worked alongside. On May 22, 2024, at 92, he passed away quietly, his death barely making headlines, a sorrowful end for a man who had once been a rising star. Zack Norman played Uncle Jack in The Nanny in 1996 at 56, portraying an eccentric and animated family member who brought humor and chaos wherever he went. In real life, his career was a cycle of near successes that never fully materialized. Despite working in film, comedy, and production, he remained a largely forgotten figure in Hollywood, struggling to find roles that matched his ambitions. He married twice, both ending in bitter divorces, and his only daughter became estranged from him, unable to reconcile with his unpredictable and erratic lifestyle. Financial troubles followed him throughout his later years, forcing him to sell off personal belongings to make ends meet. By the time he passed away on April 28, 2024, at 83, he was living in near solitude, his once lively energy reduced to quiet resignation, his death from natural causes marking the end of a life spent in constant pursuit of recognition that never fully came. Joseph Bologna played Alan Beck in The Nanny in 1995 at 61, embodying a charismatic and well-respected figure in the entertainment world. A talented writer and actor, he worked closely with his wife, Renee Taylor, but despite their enduring love, their greatest sorrow was their inability to have children. They buried themselves in their work to fill the void, but the regret never faded. His career, though filled with comedic brilliance, never reached the heights he once dreamed of, and he often found himself taking lesser roles to stay afloat. In his later years, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, a brutal disease that left him in constant agony. The treatments drained him physically and mentally, and the final months of his life were a relentless battle against pain. On August 13, 2017, at 82, he succumbed to the disease, leaving behind a legacy of laughter but a deeply personal sorrow that few truly understood. Steve Lawrence played Mort Fine in The Nanny in 1993 at the age of 58, portraying Fran's affectionate but somewhat passive father. A legendary singer in his own right, he enjoyed immense success alongside his wife, Adie Gorm, forming a beloved musical duo. However, their personal lives were marked by devastation. The loss of their only son, Michael, to heart failure in 1986 left them both shattered. Though they remained together, their once vibrant marriage became clouded by unspoken grief, and Steve struggled with depression in the years that followed. In his later years, Alzheimer's disease slowly robbed him of his past, leaving him lost in a world of fading memories. Once known for his charm and wit, he became unrecognizable to those who loved him. By the time he passed away on March 7, 2024, at 88, he no longer knew who he was, his life ending in tragic irony, a man who had spent decades entertaining audiences but was ultimately unable to remember his own legacy. Robert Vaughn played James Sheffield in The Nanny in 1995 at the age of 63, embodying the role of a sophisticated and authoritative businessman. A Hollywood icon, Vaughn had once been the epitome of cool, with the man from UNCLE cementing his status as a television legend. But the golden days faded, and Vaughn, once a leading man, found himself relegated to minor roles in his later years. His marriage to Linda Staub endured, but their life was far from idyllic. Strained finances, Vaughn's career frustrations, and the growing realization that he was no longer relevant in Hollywood cast a long shadow over their later years. He longed for children but never had any, a regret he carried silently. Then, the worst news arrived: acute leukemia, an unforgiving disease that drained the life from him with each passing day. As the end neared, the once-dapper star became unrecognizable, his sharp wit dulled by relentless pain and exhaustion. He passed away on November 11, 2016, at the age of 83. Coolio played himself in The Nanny in 1995 at the age of 32, bringing his signature charisma and swagger to the show. In stark contrast, his real life was a tumultuous ride of fleeting fame, addiction, and personal demons. Catapulted to stardom with Gangsta's Paradise, he found himself unable to sustain his early success, watching as his career gradually unraveled. A string of legal issues, from drug possession to domestic disputes, plagued his life, and his relationships were just as unstable. Though he fathered 10 children, his chaotic lifestyle kept him from being a consistent presence in their lives. His later years were spent grasping at relevancy, appearing on reality TV shows and small projects, but his health was deteriorating. His suspected cardiac arrest on September 28, 2022, at 59, was the culmination of years of wear and tear on his body, leaving behind a fractured legacy of brilliance and struggle. Joyce Brothers played Dr. Joyce Brothers in The Nanny in 1993 at the age of 66, portraying a wise and insightful psychologist who dispensed advice with calm authority. In reality, her own life was marked by an intense pursuit of perfection and an unshakable fear of failure. Rising to fame as one of television's first female psychologists, she faced constant scrutiny and skepticism in a male-dominated field. Her marriage to Milton Brothers seemed stable, but after his death in 1989, she was left utterly devastated, never truly recovering from the loneliness that followed. Despite her public persona as a woman of wisdom, she struggled privately with depression and anxiety. In her later years, as her health deteriorated, she became increasingly reclusive, rarely making public appearances. The woman who had guided so many others through their emotional struggles found herself lost in her own. She passed away on May 13, 2013, at 85 from respiratory failure. Eartha Kitt played herself in The Nanny in 1996 at the age of 69, gracing the screen with her sultry voice and undeniable charm. However, Kitt's life was a harsh and often tragic one. Born into poverty and suffering racial discrimination, she spent much of her early life battling adversity. As an adult, she overcame immense challenges to become an international star, but her career was often overshadowed by political controversy. Her outspoken criticism of the Vietnam War led to her blacklisting in the 1960s, and she found herself ostracized by Hollywood elites. Kitt's marriage to Bill McDonald ended in divorce, and though she had a daughter, Kitt McDonald, she experienced the deep loneliness of raising her child mostly on her own. In her later years, she faced a battle with colon cancer that she fought bravely but ultimately lost. She passed away on December 25, 2008, at the age of 81, marking the end of a glittering career. Cloris Leachman played Clara Mueller in The Nanny in 1995 at the age of 69, bringing her sharp humor and wit to the character, but her life off-screen was far from the comedic roles she often portrayed. Leachman, a woman of incredible talent, was repeatedly tested by personal tragedies, including the heartbreaking death of her son Brian, who died from a drug overdose in 1986. This loss was a deep wound that never fully healed for her, and though she continued her career with aplomb, her heart was never truly at ease. Her marriage to director George England ended in divorce after years of personal and professional strain. Despite her success as an actress, she never found stability in her personal life, and her later years were marked by a battle with loneliness and the slow decline of age. On January 27, 2021, at the age of 94, she passed away, leaving behind a legacy of brilliant performances but a life forever marked by the profound personal losses and struggles she faced. Carol Channing played herself in The Nanny in 1996 at the age of 75, bringing her legendary stage presence to the role. Off-screen, however, Channing's life was full of personal sorrow. Despite her immense success on Broadway, her personal relationships were often painful. She was married several times, but her most heartbreaking relationship was with Charles Lowe, whom she married in 1956. After 41 years of marriage, she discovered that he had been gay throughout their union, a revelation that shattered her emotionally. Channing had dedicated herself to him and their life together, only to feel deceived. She struggled with the fallout, experiencing emotional turmoil that left her grieving for the years spent in the false hope of marital happiness. In her later years, she faced the painful effects of aging, including memory loss and health complications. She passed away on January 15, 2019, at the age of 97. Who is your favorite character in The Nanny? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.